Huskers held their final practice of fall camp here as Nebraska will have a simulated game on Saturday. Before we get to the report from Matt Rule, this report brought to you by Game Time. It is your premier place to purchase tickets, get tickets for concerts, upcoming games, whatever ticket you're looking for. Game Time has you covered, and you want to download the Game Time app. We've got a great promo as well for new users. We're going to give you $20 off by simply using a promo code ON3. That's promo code ON3 at the Game Time app. Terms do apply. Okay, let's get to the report. Head coach Matt Rule gave his thoughts on just this fall camp, where it was an extra week and it was something that allowed them to get a lot more work done.
Yeah, this was the same schedule we had in 2019. Last year obviously we had, it was different. So when I was at Baylor, we had the same. So I've been able to go back and reference that. It's been really beneficial. You don't get this time when the year comes. When you're getting ready for a game week, you might get a 45-minute offensive and defensive meeting to put the game plan in on a Tuesday. A 45-minute meeting on Wednesday. So to have a lot of time is really vital. And we've tried to keep it fresh. There's times where we'll let them go early. There's times where the coaches need some time to game plan. We've had speakers come in. Tonight's the talent show, so tonight will be make fun of Coach Rule night. I've told them that'll directly affect how tonight goes will directly affect the schedule on Sunday. So we'll see how tame they are. But I think it's been great. It's what we need. We have a very old team and a very young team at the same time. When I'm up there talking to the team, sometimes it's like I'm talking to two different teams. I'm talking to these guys down here, and I'm like, right, Giff, right, Deshaun, okay. No, all right, guys, now listen in the back. So it's really two teams, and which is fun. So it's been a good time.
Rule also publicly addressed the decision to name Dylan Raiola his starting quarterback.
I felt all along like Dylan could be the starter game one. The problem was I also felt like so could Heinrich. I also felt like so could Danny. And Danny had a really, really, really strong week and a really strong scrimmage too. Why did he win the job? Why did Dylan win the job? I think Dylan puts all the pieces in play, and that doesn't mean the other guys don't. But I think Dylan has elite arm strength. He understands all the run game checks. He understands the entire RPO game. He understands the situational football. And I think he's really cleaned up his footwork in the pocket, which was one of the big things. I know sometimes people want us to name a starter because it's the most convenient thing, but at the end of the day, we want to be a program where you earn things. And so while you might be ahead of people, until you show me you can do this, you're not the starter. And that challenges people to go do this. And so I think one of the biggest things for Dylan has been, and it's really a lot about young quarterbacks now, is Dylan can drop back and throw it behind his back and probably hit you. He can throw it underhanded. But we don't want to do that unless we have to. And so often now these guys are they're going out and to be evaluated at whatever thing, and they're making all these off-platform throws. But I showed Dylan about 60 reps of Tom Brady, and he's on platform. And so Dylan's worked so hard at his pocket presence, and once he to me cleared that hurdle, I saw how close the other guys were coming, and I feel like he's the starter. But Danny's going to keep working, and Heinrich's going to keep working, and and really honestly, I'll tell you what, if Jalen goes in the game, I feel like Jalen can move the team. So we have four guys I feel really confident in to lead the team.
As for the other quarterbacks, particularly Heinrich Harburg and Daniel Kalen, Rule said both players understand their roles, and he's high on all three of these quarterbacks right now.
But Danny's battling for it. We wouldn't waste Danny's year in a mop-up situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wouldn't put Danny in at the end of the game. Danny gets 4 games. So if all of a sudden we have a couple injuries and he's the starting quarterback, we're going to go win with Danny Kalen. Make no mistake about it. We're going to go win with Daniel. But we're not going to put him in to hand the ball off for no reason, right, and burn a game. So he's preparing. He brings a lot to the table in terms of throwing the ball. Obviously, Heinrich's a dual threat guy, so Daniel still gets reps with the twos out there. They kind of, they both get reps. But if we went in the game tomorrow, next Saturday, if something were to happen, Heinrich could go in the game.
Nebraska officially made that quarterback announcement on Wednesday, and that's when Rule also let the players know.
The morning that we released it, I brought Heinrich in first, talked to him. I brought Danny in next, talked to him, and walking off the field, I told Dylan that, hey, we just released a graphic that you're the starter. Yeah, I mean, so it's not really in our world. This isn't really as big as it is maybe outside, right? Like at the end of the day, everyone's really just worried about themselves and competing. And Heinrich, like I said, Heinrich is a Cornhusker. He's a Nebraska guy. Like he's for this team, and I think he recognizes how good Dylan has played. He also understands how the season goes, and he has to keep getting better and better and better at quarterback because he's made a big jump at quarterback from last year to this year. And we can win with him. And he also wants to have another role, so we'll have that ready for him too. And then Danny, I think Danny sees how good he's gotten. And I think Danny recognizes the future he's going to have. So he's just saying, he had said to me earlier in the week, I just take every rep and I'm trying to get myself ready. If you ever need me, I'm ready to go. So we have great character in that room.
Another interesting position battle to watch is at place kicker, as there still is no final decision between Tristan Alvano and John Hull.
That's not determined yet. That'll be determined probably. It'll probably be determined late next week, maybe even on game day. In my brain, like I said, Eric Crouch told me stories about sitting at breakfast waiting for Coach Gill to tell him who was starting a quarterback that day. There's nothing wrong with that in my mind. You're giving everyone every opportunity to show what they can do, and they're doing a good job. I'd be way more. I'm concerned about the kicking. Make no mistake. I think I've been very transparent with that, because we have an injury to our starter and some unproven guys. But I'd be way more concerned if we weren't making kicks in practice, if that makes sense. So we are making kicks. Just who's the guy that's going to go out and kick? And we believe in letting our players prove us right. So if Johnny goes out there, if Nico goes out there, we're going to go out. We're going to put the ball down and expect him to knock it through. And if Tristan's ready to go. I think last week Ed or I said he was about 90%. That's true, but 90%. There's a big difference between 90 and 100% in football. You got to be 100%, at that position to really open up and let it rip in Memorial Stadium with those winds that can sometimes show up. So, if Tristan's ready and he's the best as of next week, then great. And if not, John has done a great job. So has Nico. So, but that's a story, and that's not gamesmanship. There's nothing I gain from. They don't need to know who. They're not trying to figure out who the starting kicker is, right? There's nothing gamesmanship. It's just. Tristan entered the mix late. We're going to take it all the way up until next week and see who the guy is.
We've seen a lot of talented freshmen here on this Husker team, but there are 4 players from Miami that have put together really strong camps, led by wide receiver Ja'Cory Barney, linebacker Vincent Shavers, defensive back Amari Sanders, and linebacker Willis McGahee.
Yeah, I love players from the state of Florida, and I love players from 305. Because to me, like they play football, the ones I've had and the ones that are here. They play football like they're out playing Pop Warner football. They just love it, right? Like, I literally have to yell at Ja'Cory every day and walk through to slow down. Like, he has, one speed and one speed only. A lot of other players I have to say, hey, pick it up, go faster. But there's one speed for Ja'Cory Barney. And I think you get the same thing from, a lot of the other guys too. So, they love to play. They love to compete. The guys we have, they're not entitled. They're very humble. They're grateful, and they just work. They work. Amari works. V9 works. He tries to get better and better and better. And so, I think when you work like that, obviously they're freshmen. The first game will probably be, but the game's not too big for them because, they've played. They've been playing in big games since they were this big. And if you know what youth football is like down in that area, it's elite. But they're just great competitors from great families and. We're blessed to have them all.
In general, when Rule looks at this camp, he just said the physicality has been great across the board.
We were just so physical. It was good on good. We call it, black on black. And it was just it was physical at a level that, in week 4 of training camp, sometimes guys aren't willing to go to anymore because they start saying, hey, the game's 14 days out, and really the last scrimmage and then that Tuesday. There was a play last week where, Micah and Ben were just pushing someone and laying out to push them, and Nash got knocked down. And he spun up and he got up off the ground. And he laid out on top of somebody. It's just the way we want to play football. When we play next Saturday, people won't. I want to win the game. Don't get me wrong. I want to be happy in the locker room, but contentment will come from the film and the way we play. It will not come from the scoreboard. And so, there's a way that we want to play, and I just loved the way 9-on-7 looked on Tuesday, and I loved the way some of the scrimmage reps looked. And so hopefully we carry it over next week.
Nebraska will hold its annual Fan Day event as well on Saturday. They'll share the stage with the volleyball program.
I think the one unique thing sometimes is that sometimes people will, I've been honored. I'll say that I've had people, whose fathers passed away, and they've brought me like a flag from them being in the military. They'll sit in my office. So sometimes I mean this. I'm like honored with what it means to be the head coach at the University of Nebraska and how much that means to people. And so, I mean, they told me, there's 900 kids signed up, for me to sign stuff for. And obviously I love kids, and, we do all the pictures of all the kids at youth camp. It's about 1,000 pictures a day, and we love it. We want those kids growing up to be Huskers. And so Fan Day is great. It's great for our players to recognize all the people that are there for them. It's a big day tomorrow, for us, it's a mock game for us. It's the Boneyard Bash. All the students come out, the freshmen. For me, it takes on a special meaning in that, my son is a freshman here now. I mean, moved in the dorm the other day. Like, I can see the anticipation for that. So Fan Day, Boneyard Bash, I think it's a really special day for us to reconnect with everyone kind of at the end of camp. It's great that we have a chance to share Fan Day with the volleyball team. I have so much respect for them. I have 2 girls in my house that live and die with what those guys do. And so, and then, it's really our last practice. It's our mock game before we get into game week. And college football starts tomorrow, right? So, Florida State plays in the morning, end with SMU at night. I mean, there's going to be a lot of great things tomorrow. So, it should be a great day.
And finally, it is week 0 in college football. A couple years ago, Nebraska was playing a game in Ireland as they took on Northwestern. I asked Coach Rule, would you be open to play a game in a place like Dublin, Ireland again?
Yeah, I would love to go overseas. When I was at Baylor, I kept trying to get us to have a game in Mexico. I kept saying, like, hey, let's play a game down there. I like neutral site games. Like, when we I was one of the guys pushing for when we played in Cincinnati in a couple of years and playing them in Indy. I think when you're playing non-conference games and you can play them at neutral sites, that's interesting. Especially, it's a kind of a cheat code for us because we can Nebraska, Husker Nation will turn a neutral site into a home site. So I think it's really powerful for us. But I'd love to have the opportunity to take our guys overseas and experience that, and I think we'd make it fun as long as we have a bye the next week. but yeah, I would be into that. I think when I got here, there was sort of we were kind of putting up. When I walked in, there was a lot of things. I got asked about the alternate uniforms. It was kind of like, hey, we're moving away from alternate uniforms. Hey, we're moving away from overseas trips. There were a lot of things that were kind of being directed. And that's fine. I don't care about those things. My job is to rebuild the team, rebuild the roster. I mean, you start getting worried about too many other things, and you don't really do your job. And so I focus on that. But if an opportunity came, I would certainly do that for our guys. Trev flew me and Julie out here to see Nebraska, and then we went home, and Julie and I were like, hey, no momentum. Let's go make a decision. And we went to Ireland just to get away, just her and I, and we got off the plane, and there was this 200-foot Husker helmet, and I was like, it's a sign from God. All right, let's go to Nebraska. So, but I do think I think with a brand like ours, we when we go different places, right? Like people, it attracts people to us. If I go out anywhere in the country, outside the country, even people, I'm going to see someone that's going to say "Go Big Red" to me. So I would love it if we had that chance someday, but it's not in the cards anytime soon.
Huskers will hold a simulated game here again on Saturday. For HuskerOnline.com, I'm Sean Callahan.